All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Functional Times. We're going to have both a podcast and YouTube here. We have a video going. We are joined by Kason Mo Morris, the General Manager for USAFF, that is the United States Functional Fitness Federation, part of the IF3, the International Functional Fitness Federation. If you aren't sure who these guys are, we've done a couple of articles, a couple of podcasts, so check those out. But today we wanted to bring Mo on. USAF put out a statement of where they stand in light of everything that's been happening in the functional fitness community. And so we just wanted to bring Mo on to bring us up to speed on where they are at and kind of what solutions they're presenting for the functional fitness community.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for having me again. Unfortunately, I was mistaken during our talk off camera. I thought I was the first repeat guest, but apparently Gretchen Kettleberger, our International Federation president, was the first one to be a repeat guest. So
sorry, Mo. Sorry, couldn't get you back on before Gretchen.
It's all good.
Just the way that worked out. But I appreciate you coming back on and talking with us. Always a good time.
No, we totally appreciate you just giving us the opportunity to share our mission and vision and just kind of give us a platform to speak on what it is we're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely. So I just want to read a couple of quick things. People can go to the page on Instagram at USA Functional Fitness and they can read the full statement. But I want to hit on a couple of things and kind of start there. So as the national governing body for competitive functional fitness in the United States of America, I want to stop right there. So I think for some people, functional fitness is like a different sport than CrossFit, but really it's more or less the same sport. It's just brand and without a brand. Am I correct there?
Correct. A brand name versus generic name. And the analogy I give people is in the Olympics, we have basketball, we don't have NBA. We have baseball, we don't have MLB. So you have the generic sport of basketball, but the trademark and branded licensed business is the NBA.
Okay, I totally botched that last night in that last podcast 28. I tried to say something along those lines to give a good example. Thank you for making me sound dumb. And no, so the statement continues. We have a great responsibility to our athletes, technical officials, coaches, partners, and supporters, to our community as a whole. The responsibility is to ensure inclusivity within the sport to all races, genders, economic backgrounds, and cultures. And this current landscape change is inevitable and it's coming. We are committed to being a part of that positive change moving forward. I'm going to stop there and say, so we have certainly seen change. We have tried at the Functional Times to keep everybody updated on all of those changes from affiliates that are now de-affiliating to brands pulling out like Reebok and Rogue, to headquarters staff leaving, to athletes that are now saying they're not going to participate in the 2020 games. So change is happening, and it's happening rapidly. Mm-hmm. What is the USAFF doing to be a part of the positive change?
Honestly, for us, there's not a lot we're going to do any different. We are who we are. We've been around since 2017, but just because of the sheer size of the CrossFit juggernaut, it's hard to get attention with something that big, and that's fine. But we've managed to field 3 teams in the 3 years that we've been in existence, and had 3 world championships. The first one, was the United States. The next one was in London, and last year's was in Sweden. Unfortunately, the one this year in Canada was canceled. But even though we're not that well known within that particular community, we have enough of a foothold that we've been able to have competitive national championships and select athletes that help put us in the podium all 3 years.
Okay, so and I want to make sure that people are aware, the I3 Worlds has been canceled this year, but there is something called the Continental Cup Again, you can check out more information on that. But so the IFRI is still having events. The USAFF will be putting up a team, I'm assuming.
Correct.
Okay.
There are several events that are going to be taking place in lieu of the World Championships. And the reason why they decided to go with the Continental Cup is to present it as something different, because when you think of the World Championships that I've had the honor of going the past 2 years, it's just a really cool event. You have athletes out there that normally within their countries, they probably represented their gym or maybe represented a team, but within the world of functional fitness, this is the first time they've been able to represent their flag, which there's not very many chances in the athletic realm that athletes have the opportunity to do that. I mean, yes, the Olympics, yes, the World Championships, but when you start whittling down like the small number of athletes that get to participate in those things, giving these athletes a chance to rep their flag, it's awesome. And go ahead.
I was going to say, and to speak to that, the ultimate goal is for these athletes to be able to compete on the world stage in the Olympics as well, correct?
Correct. 2028 is the goal. We're trying to, and that's where I mentioned before about trying to get acceptance from the USOC and the IOC. And the goal is to become a demonstration sport in Los Angeles in 2028. With the Olympic programs, every host nation has the opportunity to pick sports that are relevant to their nation to be included as demonstration sports. So in the past, you've seen, I guess in these Olympics that are coming here shortly, you see things like breakdancing, rock climbing, surfing, judo, karate, and in the United States, we've had baseball and bowling. So those types of things that normally wouldn't be included in the normal Olympic programming.
So I want to make sure you mentioned that USAFF has been around since 2017, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So in that, and you mentioned earlier, it's hard to kind of get a foothold because of how big CrossFit is, but there have been some big name athletes across the world that have competed in IF3 worlds, like Samantha Briggs, correct?
Correct. Samantha Briggs was on the UK team 2 years ago. She won the individual women's gold. And in that same team, we also, from the United States, we had Colleen Foch and Amanda Goodman. Amanda Goodman took the silver that year.
So there are big name athletes in the CrossFit world that have also stepped over into the IF3 world. And again, the sport is like you were saying, it's the brand name versus the generic as far as that goes. So it's not like they had to retrain or redo something different, which kind of brings me to my next thought, in that on social media, especially in the last 24, 48 hours, lots of people are saying, well, without CrossFit, what's it going to be? Is it going to be the Rogue Fitness Games, or is it going to be, this or that or the other? And is the solution that it doesn't need to be a new entity, it doesn't need to be a new name, but these athletes, whether in the United States for USAFF or internationally at the IF3, can just compete within this program that's already established?
I think for us, in the 35 federations around the world, I think it now may be a little bit easier for us to gain the attention of more athletes because of the current climate. But will sanctional still exist? Perhaps, I don't know. I don't know that athletes will just start taking up another sport. I think functional fitness athletes are going to still gravitate towards functional fitness. And this is going to create opportunities for other groups of people to start maybe creating an event series. Like you look at the folks at the Pit Fitness Ranch, how they're doing a bang up job with what they're trying to do with all the teen athletes. And then you have groups like Masters Fitness Collective and Legendary Masters Comps, how they're trying to cater to those advanced age athletes like myself.
And I fall in that category too.
And then we also have Masters HQ, which is the Masters branch of the International Functional Fitness Federation, who we had our first world championships in Australia, and we were going to have another one this year in Lisbon, Portugal, but again, because of travel restrictions, has to be rescheduled till next year as well. So, like, are we the solution? I think we're the solution for some people that see the opportunity to represent their country and represent, their flag. We might be more appealing to certain people, but there's also a certain amount of athletes that rely on this as a source of income. Athletes there's a lot of athletes that are maybe one or two podium spots away from having to sit at a desk full time versus being able to be fitness athletes full time. So the impacts of what's going on right now could really change what the future of some of our athletes, as a collective, what their future looks like. And to me, that's the sad part. That's the scary part, that my heart feels for those people that are caught in that limbo right now.
So let's address that for a minute from one angle, and the angle being, and I touched on this last night in the podcast or on the video. CrossFit is ran by one man. It's the CEO. There's not a board of directors or shareholders that can, I guess, pressure that decision. I mean, there's one man making the decisions, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but in this case, there's obviously a lot of people that are calling for his exit, but he doesn't have to. He can certainly stand there as long as he wants, and that's his choice. It's his company. How is the USAFF and IF3 different?
Well, part of the chief reasons why that can't happen with us is because we have to have a board. We have athlete boards, we have competition boards, and all these different committees. When I say boards, that in a democratic process come to solutions, whether it's voting or percentage based, or if a group is just given a task to accomplish and they have to check back. It's not me being the general manager. I just can't say this is what we're doing, because we've surrounded ourselves with other board members that can help balance out what it is we're trying to do for the betterment of the sport, but ultimately in the best interest of the athlete.
Okay. So for the athletes, let's talk about that. So let me, I'm gonna pull the statement back up that you guys put out earlier today. Some of this says being transparent organization that establishes rules, standards, and guidelines by committee for competitive functional fitness. So that's just, again, what you're speaking to there is it's not one person making a decision.
Correct.
To ensure member athletes have representation by committee and their feelings, thoughts, ideas, and comments are heard by the organization so we can make a difference. So let's talk about that for just a second, break that down a little bit more. These athletes have representation by committee. So give me a little bit of insight on how that would work. So let's say that I'm a athlete that wants to compete with you guys or have competed, and I disagree with the way things are going. What happens?
So depending on what the issue is that you wanted to petition or challenge, let's say if it was a drug test, if you had a positive drug test, we provide arbitration, and we use we use WADA standards. And because we use those particular standards, the athletes are, entitled to, let me just back up a little bit. During our competitions at nationals, we provide drug testing training. We walk through the process with the athletes, and these are done by the folks at WADA. And they tell them exactly how the test runs, what their rights and responsibilities are, that they have the right to have a chaperone, that if their results come back, they're allowed to petition, and these are the steps that you can take to petition. And one of the unique things with the drug testing method that we use is once we request a drug test, we don't have anything to do with it anymore. We don't see the results. The results get posted onto a website. So those results are seen by anybody who chooses to look those things up. If it's another issue, like let's say a scoring error, the athlete can obviously petition through with the TOs that are involved and the competition director. And there's a process in place so that way the athletes are given the rights to, quote, I guess for lack of a better phrase, challenge anything that they might see particularly as unfair or unfavorable.
So what about the committee itself? I mean, or is this something like where a committee meets on a regular basis, or
with the international federation side, they conduct I think it's monthly or quarterly meetings with athletes, and there's athletes selected from each federation, and they have a call, and they basically go over any concerns that they may have, whether it's, hey, we think these competitions are scheduled too closely together. Hey, during this last event, we felt the testing was unbalanced. Hey, we feel that it's not this particular element of a test is not safe for us, and we listen, because without the athletes, we can't do anything. We're kind of stuck.
Yeah, and I mean I'm not going to say that there's not other competitions or systems out there like that, but that's definitely sounds different on a lot of aspects than some of what we're used to in the functional fitness world.
Yeah, and I'm not saying we're doing anything earth-shattering or with other events that athletes don't have rights, but I think one thing that I'm proud of, and one thing that I talk to about prospective athletes is that within these boards, there's a certain amount of athlete representation that has to take place, and that's kind of cool, because at any point, you're one injury away from your competition, from your career being over. That goes with any sport. So just because someone is no longer able to compete or qualify in a team doesn't mean they can't be involved in the federation with the voice of the athlete in mind. And there's times where I reach out to the athletes just to have a call, especially now since their lives have been a little bit disrupted in their ability to train or even make revenue, because a lot of our athletes are employed in the fitness arena, just trying to figure out what's going on with them, how they feel. And that was one of the big things that we took into consideration when we were debating on whether or not to even continue with our national championship this year. Is one of the chief concerns we had is that we're going through a global pandemic, gyms are closed. One, are the athletes able to train appropriately to compete and perform ideally at the test? But two, do they have the finances to just drop what they're doing and travel from Florida or California or Washington or Texas to come compete in our national championship event? That's something that weighed heavy on all of us. We know they want to represent us, but when you're young and you want to do something so bad, sometimes you overlook the price tag affiliated with those things, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. So on that, in an ideal world, or maybe in the near future, at what point, because I know that the federations want to pick up some of that financial burden for athletes, and I know they do at a world level, but at what point in the future would you like to see the ability for maybe athletes that have qualified for nationals, would they have some of their travel expenses covered, or at what point does the federation step in, I guess let me say it that way, and help financially with that, or would you like to see?
A lot of that depends on the athletes themselves. Without athlete registration and representation and support from vendors and family members in the matter of becoming members themselves or buying merch or providing donations, with that will come the opportunities for us to help offset costs. In our current state, the only thing we can really help them do is offset the plane rides, which for athletes, that's a lot of money. I think when we flew to, just takes Sweden and London, for instance, off the top of my head, without whipping out an Excel sheet, I probably estimate that each of those tickets was anywhere between $700,000 a piece. That's a lot of money for an athlete to go compete. And we've had the ability these past years to take a little bit of that financial burden off of them. And just the look when they say thank you, it's very rewarding, to know that we helped them compete to represent our country, and they're grateful that we bought a plane ticket for them. I mean, um, I think we can do better, but it all starts with the people becoming part of this federation. If they believe in our mission and vision and trying to become an Olympic sport, the best thing they can do right now is just become a member of the federation. You don't have to be an athlete that's going to be competing. Like, I'm never going to sit on that competition floor, but I pay my registration every year because I believe in it. I've spent my own money to be part of this, and I don't mind that because I believe in the mission and vision. I believe these athletes should have the opportunity to compete on the Olympic platform, because I mean, as much as I love curling's an Olympic sport.
Yeah. So why is functional fitness?
Yeah. So why isn't functional fitness? That they're equally talented as gymnasts as anybody else out there that competes in. Yeah. Wait.
No, I'm not. I'm not. That was not a knock on weightlifters. Look, I'm terrible at Olympic lifting, so all those people that.
My wife's a weightlifter. She might come in here and unplug my headset.
Telling us to do that. That was not a knock against them. I'm just saying that the time and the devotion that they put towards functional fitness is equal to somebody that may be doing curling or tennis or weightlifting.
For sure.
Those lines. Yeah, definitely didn't mean it to come out that way. But I want to read one other statement. This was from the IF3. And that was, the IF3 condemns all forms of racism, whether individual or institutional. We support the rights of athletes to express their opinions on social justice issues, and we support the aims of the Black Lives Matter movement. We've seen a lot of people come out and voice their opinion and voice their support. Some are taking action. Some are just making sure that they're backing their beliefs. They're letting their beliefs be known. And earlier you said that the USAFF is not really doing anything different because you don't have to. You guys have kind of been doing the right things from the start. Is the organization or the IFRI as a whole making any changes that you're aware of, or?
I won't say that we're not going to make any changes, but I will definitely say that all of us are more cognizant and trying to make a better effort for inclusion. And again, no organization is perfect, and I'm not going to say that we are either, but in my heart, I feel we have done the best we can to be an inclusive organization. And all this is going to do is make us strive even harder to be a positive force when it comes to inclusion, of all races, genders, creeds, religions, orientations, you name it. We want to be there for any athlete that wants to be part of this. And perhaps this is an opportunity for, people that have the fiscal means to maybe help us start something new, to increase our footprint when it comes to inclusion. What does that look like? I have no idea, but I'm willing to listen. And we're made up of entirely volunteers. So if there's people out there that want to help us create this new thing, please get a hold of me. We love to have people help us that are passionate about functional fitness, about good humans, and just about taking care of people, whether they're athletes or technical officials or administrative people or parents that follow our athletes around. We want good people to help make this better.
So two things. One, I want you to tell us how people can help, and you touched on that a little bit, but give some specifics of a website or whatnot that they can do. But before I get to that, if you will, paint your picture. It's 2020. We got 8 years until the Olympics, but maybe 4 years from now, 5 years from now, if you could have laid out perfectly, what does the USAFF look like at that point?
if I had my magic wand and I could make all these
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
happen, we have 4 strong regions within the country. What do those look like? North, south, east, west, uh, anything like that. And we're having regional championships that lead to a national championship that help us select our team to go to the world championships. But more importantly, what I really want to see, the areas I want to see grow more than anything are those youth areas, because right now the athletes that are going to participate in that 2028 Olympics have just started driving. Some of them might be in college, some of them might be in high school right now. But there's a group of young Americans that I need to find. And and the team, we're only so many people, but we need help identifying these athletes that want to go and walk out of that tunnel at the Coliseum in Los Angeles and watch that torch get lit. Another area I want to see grow is the Masters area for sure. We've extended that Masters range to 60 to 65 plus now. So now, and not just, it doesn't stop at 60, it goes 60 to 64 and then 65 plus. Why? Because there's a lot of athletes out there. We all know Super Dave. I'm almost half his age, and that dude could smoke me in any workout. We need to celebrate those type of athletes that are, in my opinion, superhuman. Like the things that he can do are just absolutely amazing at his age. Like you couldn't tell. I still want to see his birth certificate personally.
Prove it.
Yeah, prove it for sure. And lastly, that last area that I'd like to see in 4 years that has some feet underneath it is that those adaptive athletes. I've had the opportunity to watch the team Some Assembly Required compete at the Arnold Fitness Classic several years, and I tell you, every year I watch those guys, and I'm announcing, it's really hard to keep my emotions together because it's so amazing what they're not willing to be limited to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it just makes me like, there's days when I'm working out in my garage and I think to myself, man, this is hard. And I think about those athletes that Dale King from Doc Spartan has helped assemble. And I'm just like, you need to get over yourself. Those people are just a true testament to what it means to say I can, and truly inspirational. And there's plenty of young men and women out there that would like to participate in functional fitness and don't necessarily have the resources, and I don't have the answers. And I'm blessed to be able to have a phone call with several adaptive athletes this week, and let's start the conversation and figure out, how do we get this into the Olympics as well in 2028 for adaptive functional fitness athletes? I don't know, but somebody listening or somebody watching might know somebody who knows somebody. That's the kind of help we need. We need that grassroots help. We need to get horizontal before we start, getting vertical.
All right. So now, next step, if somebody wants to reach out, if they want to get involved, if they want to help, whether it's financially or with their time, how can they do that?
The easiest way to get a hold of us is just go to our Instagram, USA Functional Fitness. Send us a message in the DMs. You can email me directly, mo@usafunctionalfitness.org. On Facebook, you can hit the messenger in there. And we also have a webpage, usafunctionalfitness.org. I'm sure, if they point to you, they can.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the description. We can do that both on YouTube and for the podcast, anybody that's listening that way. That way they'll have those links there as well. So you talked about being a member. Last thing that I want to touch on, and kind of donating your money each year, paying your fees. Can you tell, what are those fees? What does that go to?
Yeah, an annual membership is $25 a year. And what that does is all the funds that we raise go directly towards the athlete. That's how we pay for our, the travel costs. That's how we help to put on events. If you're interested in hosting an event, please hit us up at one of those areas too. We can put you in contact with previous partners so you can get some feedback on what to expect. I'm sorry, you said where the fees go and
just and then, okay. How much were they and what are they going towards? That was all I was trying to make sure.
And then another thing that we're going to launch here very shortly is our club initiative, and basically it's going to be very similar to what USAW does, where you have a club affiliation, and that'll entitle you to host events or throw events, and in athletes that participate in a USAFF recognized event, and if that event meets the criteria and their membership is valid, they have secondary insurance through us in the event they are injured in the midst of a competition, and that's not something that's often offered or even thought of. But again, part of that whole mission of safety includes, unfortunately, sometimes people get hurt, and if that's something we can offer, then I think that's an added benefit, and that's what your registration fees goes towards.
Okay. Anything else? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and then of course, there's always donations that are, depending on your tax situation, are can be qualify for a tax deduction. We've been fortunate enough to have some vendors in the past provide us with tax or with donations to help us, literally, fund flights for athletes. And vendors will reach out and say, "Hey, I'm sorry, I can only give you this much." And I'm just like, "You don't understand. You just bought a plane ticket. You just bought a plane ticket for an athlete to fly to the other side of the world to exercise, and represent the United States." That's putting it very simply.
Yeah.
But without that kind of support, we can't give these athletes the opportunities that they deserve.
So that's cool though. Paint the vision, talking about how to get there. $25. I mean, I think most people can. I shouldn't say most people, but a lot of people can afford that $25 a year fee, especially if this is a sport, if this is like you said, an idea that they believe in, getting functional fitness into the Olympics. Anything else that you want to make sure that we touch on?
No, just like I said, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to come on here again. Maybe I can beat Gretchen to be a three-time a three-time member, but my heart goes out to all those affiliate owners. This is not an easy time. In addition to the pandemic, we had the turmoil that occurred this past weekend, and it's an unenviable position. But I feel for you. I'm thinking about you guys because I have plenty of friends that are affiliate owners that are caught up in this. But we're going to get through this. But we got to get through this together. We can't be decisive. We got to come together and just be good humans, lift each other up, and we just got to love one another, man. It's really that simple.
Yeah, that you're right. That's absolutely right. Love definitely would fix a lot, if not everything, in the current situation, not just in functional fitness, but in the world as a whole. Thank you again, Mo, for your time. Thank you for kind of telling us what the USAFF has going on, how to be a part of that. If you're interested, anxious to hear more about the adaptive athletes. Haven't heard that you guys are having those conversations.
That doll just happened today, man.
Okay, all right, breaking news. That's cool. That's I'm trying to do more here. We are trying to do more at the Functional Times to cover basically all of the athletes you just mentioned between
I love what you guys are doing
and adaptive.
I love what you guys are doing. I've learned a lot about the OCR community, and there's definitely some of your guests that I want to reach out to and maybe try and bridge some of our common fitness needs, loving, all that good stuff. I think it'd be kind of cool to partner up with some of them.
Yeah, that would be cool. So OCR, a little OCR and functional fitness throwdown, something like that.
There we go. There we go.
Well, hey, we've seen something similar to that in the past. That would definitely be fun to watch as a fan of both sports.
Absolutely.
But again, Mo, thanks for your time. And we will be looking for more information about all of this coming out soon. And have a good day. Stay well.
Right. Be well. Wash your hands.
Yes. All right. See you, Mo.
Later.